YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to AJ's Garage. I just want to start off by saying thank you to all the new subscribers and recent subscribers. I really appreciate your interest in the channel. Again, I started this channel just to do basic restoration and repair on these old trucks. And again, by no means am I a professional at doing this. I've just learned along the way, doing research and looking at old trucks that I find, especially at the junkyard. Those are great reference points. But today's video is going to be on the lower molding and the wheel arch molding. I was able to kind of collect everything over about a year's period. Finally decided to order the clips to get it all installed, so I'll show you how I got that done. So before I begin installing the lower molding on the truck, there is one thing I need to fix, and that would be this fender. So when I first started this whole process a few years ago, I removed everything from the cab forward here. So the fenders, the hood, the core support radiator, I pretty much removed all of that. And when I removed this driver's side fender, I ended up snapping off, I guess, the retaining bracket that holds it down here at the bottom. This bolt was pretty seized, so I need to free that up. But of course I need to put this piece back up, which is held by a few spot welds, it looks like. So now that I have a welder, I am able to do that, and that'll prevent this fender from flapping around while I'm driving. So let's get started. So I was able to get this all apart. I had been letting the bolt and the clip kind of soak in some PB Blaster for a few days. On my way to work, I would spray it before I left. I'd get home, spray it again. So I did that for a few days and then finally was able to still break it loose. This bracket here, I kind of straightened up as best I could. Let me show you what it looks like underneath the truck. So as you guys can see, I've already started prepping the area for the bracket to go back in. I will spray it with some weld-through primer just to protect some of the metal there, and then we'll get it tacked in place. I still need to kind of mess with the fitment. It still doesn't quite line up and then sit completely flush up against the truck, but once I start tacking it in, I'll be able to move it around and kind of bend it to where I need it to be. And then with the fender, instead of removing the whole fender, I was able just to pull it out and wedge a little piece of metal here, if you guys can see where my hand is, and just have it kind of held out away from this part so that I can get access to it. So we'll start welding now and get it all lined up. So I got the bracket all mounted and welded in place. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I did have to turn up the settings on the welder. Like I mentioned before, I'm just learning. At first the tack welds weren't really holding and penetrating well, so I did turn up the power on it and that seemed to do it. So this is pretty solid. I'm going to spray a little bit of primer just to keep it protected for now, and I'll touch it back up and clean those welds up eventually, but with it being under the truck, it's not going to be visible. So let's get this bottom section of the front driver's side fender mounted, and then we'll move up to mounting the lower molding. So getting started on installing the lower molding, I was able to complete this set. Got a few pieces off of eBay, mainly the two front fender pieces and then the opposite piece, like this one that goes on the passenger side of the bed, and then the rest of them I picked up at the junkyard. I probably spent about 200 bucks, whereas a brand new set is a little over 400. You also have to order the little clips that hold them in place. It's a set of, I believe, 34. I'm sure the originals were probably a little bit better, but this is like a plastic and then like a metal backing to it, so it does have some rigidity to it. And the way these go in, if I can get you guys a view here, this little tab kind of keeps it in place, so it keeps it from spinning. So push it in, twist it, and there it is. So this kind of keeps it from moving around too much, and then we'll just line up all the mounting locations here. So I'll give you guys a view of how these go on, and then we'll take a look at the completed picture. Giving you guys a close-up of the mounting tabs. They do have these plastic little clips here, or these tabs. Now, what these are for is when you get these all lined up and start tightening them down, these will bend and catch on the body to prevent the nut on the back from coming loose. All 4 of these are in the same orientation. I just need to line them up. This is the front facing towards the cab, and then this back one here is actually upside down compared to the rest, and that is because the location back here at the end is a little too close to the edge. So if it was like this one is, it wouldn't really quite line up. So lining these up, just kind of slide them where they need to go. Just the general fitment here. And now we can just start tightening them down. So the last piece of the lower trim, even though it really isn't the last part, is the wheel arch molding. So I ordered these a while ago. I got these brand new off of LMC. To find some in decent shape at the junkyard was kind of tough, and plus these were cheap. I think it was like 35 bucks for the pair, for the front pair and for the back pair. And they are labeled on the bag. The front ones also have this little indent here, if you guys can see this piece right here, which will be replicated on the fender as well. There's a little lip, so just like that. I am going to take the front wheel off just because it'll be easier to get some of the screws, especially right here and in there up at the front. So we're going to use the bottle jack that I found at the junkyard, the original one. Get this tire off and then put this in. So I already got the bottle jack extended quite a bit. I'm going to try placing it first on the radius arm, just because the I-beam is a little bit taller. So this will be not as high of a jack point. So I think that should be enough. We'll get these tires. So now to get this molding on, the way I've been starting with the others and what worked best was starting at the top of the fender here and just getting some of the screws loosely put in and then trying to line everything else up. Now, some of them probably won't line up. I did have to drill some new holes for some, but just getting a few started. Definitely makes it a little easier. So this one needs to come down to get this top one to line up here. So now that that one's in, that one's pretty close, and then we'll just go down the line here. Now, as you guys can tell, my truck has disc brakes. Now, I'm not sure if that's a camper special package. I know there's trucks, of course, disc brakes weren't kind of standard or mandatory up until, I can't remember what year exactly, I think mid 70s or early 70s. So it did come with disc brakes, which I'm very thankful for, not having to switch those out from drums. But as you can tell, this is definitely a lot easier with the wheel off. I would be careful not to over tighten. These are definitely pretty thin, and they're not going to fit perfectly into the arch. So you're going to be able to tell as you tighten it, some will kind of get stretched and pushed up where they need to go. The wheel arch molding is installed, and it definitely gives another dimension to the look of the truck. I did have to drill out this front bottom location here, but I didn't really want to mess with adjusting it to try to get it to shift over and line up when everything else was in place. Plus the passenger side molding is pretty much in the same place, so decided just to do it that way. The lower molding all came out really good. There's certain little areas that it doesn't sit down as well as I would like it to, but eventually I will kind of try and adjust that. These little screws I completely forgot to order from LMC, but I'm sure it would have been something pretty similar, so I will get those changed out eventually. But came out really nice, and I'm really happy with how it all looks together. The one that was a little difficult was the door molding, just because to get to some of these middle locations here, you have to pull the door card out and take this all out so you can get in behind the door. But there are two, sorry about the lighting here. There are two on the outer edge of the doors, one there, and then one on the front down there, so you can use those to get it secure and then get the other ones back down behind this. But really happy with how it looks. Now the truck's a little dirty, so I'm gonna go give it a wash, and then we'll do a full walk around. So there she is, all cleaned up, and lower molding on both sides. It got a little late on me last night once I cleaned up and washed the truck, so next day some better lighting, and she definitely just looks really good. Getting closer and closer to original. I really like how the wheel arch molding and the lower trim changes the look of the truck. Next would be, as far as molding goes, the spear molding, I guess, the middle body line here, but I'm not quite sure if I want to put that on. Might just leave the lower molding and stick with it like that. So